The transport shuttle touched down with a soft hiss of hydraulics. Owen Drake felt his stomach settle as artificial gravity took full effect. Through the viewport, he could see the massive hangar of Viridian 7 stretching in every direction. Aliens of shapes and sizes he had only seen in briefing files moved about their business. Some walked on 2 legs, others on 4 or 6. A few floated without touching the ground at all. Riley nudged him from the seat behind. "We're really doing this." Owen stood and grabbed his gear bag. The 5 of them had trained together for 8 months back on Earth. Riley with his lightning-fast hands, Nash who could kick through concrete blocks, Grace who could throw men twice her size, Victor who wrestled like gravity itself worked for him, and Owen who had spent 15 years learning how to make the human body into a weapon. The hatch opened, heat and noise rushed in. The hangar smelled like ozone and something sweet Owen could not identify. They walked down the ramp in formation, boots clanging on metal. Around them, the noise level dropped. Aliens turned to stare. Some pointed. A few made sounds that might have been laughter. A creature approached them. It stood 7 feet tall on 2 legs but had 4 arms that moved independently. Its skin was purple-gray with patterns that glowed faintly. It wore robes of bronze metal that somehow looked soft. "I am Instructor Harn. You are the humans." The voice came from a translation device on its chest. "Follow me." They walked through corridors that curved in ways that hurt to look at. Holographic displays showed information in languages Owen did not recognize. Through windows set into the walls, he glimpsed the black of space dotted with stars. Other cadets passed them in groups. Most were bigger than humans, much bigger. One group blocked their path. These aliens stood 8 feet tall with bodies covered in dark green armor that looked like insect shells. Their arms ended in blades instead of hands. Multiple eyes reflected light like mirrors. "These are Kryn," Harn said, gesturing with 2 of his arms. "Step aside, cadets." The Kryn did not move. One leaned down until its face was level with Owen's. It made a clicking sound. The translator on its chest spoke in flat tones. "Soft things. Break easy." Owen met its multifaceted gaze and said nothing. After a long moment, the Kryn straightened and moved aside. Its companions followed, but Owen heard clicking sounds that might have been laughter. The briefing room held 200 cadets. The humans sat in the front row because all the back seats were sized for creatures much larger. Harn stood at a podium while holographic images appeared in the air above him. "Combat training begins tomorrow," Harn announced. "We will assess your natural capabilities, strength, speed, durability, offensive potential." The hologram shifted to show a human body rotating slowly. Red marks appeared at various points: knees, elbows, neck, spine. "Humans," Harn continued, "possess no natural weapons, no armor plating, no venom. Their bone structure is relatively fragile. Muscle density is below galactic average." From the back rows came sounds of amusement. Owen kept his face neutral, but his hands curled into fists on his knees. The next morning they assembled in the training gymnasium. It was larger than 3 football fields. Equipment designed for different body types filled the space. Obstacle courses that went up walls and across ceilings. Weapons ranging from simple staffs to things that hummed with energy. "Initial assessments," Harn announced. "Each species will demonstrate base capabilities." The Kryn went first. One of them struck a testing pillar with its bladed arm. The impact echoed like a gunshot. Numbers appeared in holographic display. The Kryn cadets made approving sounds. Then came the Torog. These were the massive reptilian aliens Owen had seen in the files. 9 feet of thick scales and muscle. One stepped up to a lifting apparatus and hoisted a weight that had to be 2 tons. It held the weight overhead for 10 seconds before setting it down gently. "Humans," Harn called. Owen approached the striking pillar. He set his feet, rotated his hips, and put everything he had into a cross. His knuckles impacted the padded surface. The number that appeared was less than half what the Kryn had scored. From somewhere in the assembled cadets came a sound like coughing. Laughter, Owen realized. They were laughing. Victor tried the lifting test. He managed 300 pounds, respectable for a human, nothing compared to the Torog, more laughter. Harn held up two of his hands for silence. The humans will train with Tier 3 cadets, dismissed. Tier 3, Owen learned, meant younglings, the alien equivalent of children. They trained in a separate section of the gymnasium with padded floors and low-intensity equipment. The human delegation of 5 stood among creatures barely waist-high who were learning basic movement drills. That evening, they gathered in their assigned quarters. 5 bunks in a room meant for 3. The walls were thin enough they could hear Kryn cadets in the next room making clicking sounds. "They think we're a joke," Riley said, sitting on his bunk. Grace was doing stretches on the floor. "Let them think that." "We didn't come here to win a popularity contest," Nash added. "We came to learn." Victor looked at Owen. "What do you think?" Owen stood at the window looking out at the stars. "I think they've never fought someone like us. They have natural weapons, so they never had to develop technique. They're strong, so they never learned leverage. They've been winning their whole lives." "And we haven't?" Riley asked. "We've been fighting each other for thousands of years," Owen said. "Every war, every boxing match, every wrestling tournament. We've spent more time learning how to hurt each other than any species out there. They don't know what that means yet." He turned from the window. "Tomorrow we start watching everything they do, how they move, where their weight goes, what they don't protect because they think their armor makes them safe." "The tournament is in 4 weeks," Grace said. Owen nodded. "Then we have 4 weeks to find every weakness they don't know they have." A chime sounded from the room's communication panel. Harn's face appeared on the screen. "Attention all cadets. The monthly tournament brackets will be posted tomorrow. All participants are required to register by end of cycle. This includes humans." The screen went dark. "Well," Victor said into the silence, "I guess we're doing this." Owen smiled for the first time since they had arrived. "Yeah, we really are." Through the thin walls, the Kryn were still making their clicking sounds. But now Owen heard it differently. Not as mockery, but as the sound of opponents who had no idea what was coming. They thought this was going to be easy. They thought humans were weak and slow and fragile. They were about to learn that survival made you stronger than any armor ever could. Training began before dawn by station time. The humans were already in the gymnasium when other cadets arrived. Owen had been studying footage of Kryn combat techniques for 2 hours. The aliens moved fast, using their bladed limbs in patterns that seemed random but followed a rhythm. Nash joined him at the screen. "They always attack high, have you noticed?" Owen replayed the sequence. Nash was right. Every Kryn strike came at head or chest level. Their exoskeleton protects them up top. They don't expect attacks below the waist. "Because nothing gets past their armor to make low attacks worth it," Nash said. "Except we're not trying to break through armor." Grace arrived with Riley and Victor. They all carried data tablets filled with notes. For the past week, they had documented everything. How each species moved, where they kept their weight, which joints bent and which did not. The morning session was weapons training. Instructor Harn demonstrated a plasma staff that hummed with blue energy. When he struck a target, it exploded into fragments. "Energy weapons are standard in galactic combat," Harn explained. "Your natural defenses determine your weapon class. Kryn use bladed arms, so they train with blade amplification. Torog have crushing strength, so they use impact weapons." He looked at the humans. "You have no natural weapons, so you will train with standard energy staffs." Owen took the staff when offered. It was heavier than it looked. When he activated it, blue light ran along its length. He tried a simple strike. The staff moved slower than a regular stick because of the weight. Around the gymnasium, other species trained with weapons that matched their bodies. The Kryn made their blade arms glow with the same blue energy. The Torug wielded hammers that crackled with power. A winged species called Cirith used energy whips while flying through the air. "This is useless," Riley muttered after an hour. "By the time I swing this thing, a Kryn could hit me 5 times." Owen agreed but said nothing. He went through the drills Harn demonstrated, learning the weapon even though he knew it would not help in a real fight. But he also watched the Kryn, watched how they extended their arms fully when attacking, how their balance shifted forward with each strike, how they never defended their legs because nothing ever attacked there. At midday break, cadets gathered in the mess hall. The humans sat at their usual table near the windows. 3 tables away, a group of Kryn were in discussion. Their clicking speech was too fast for the translators to keep up, but Owen caught enough words. "Soft bones," one clicked. "Paper skin, children play stronger." Another Kryn gestured toward the human table. "Tournament coming, make example, show Earth sends nothing." The largest Kryn stood. Its exoskeleton had markings that indicated combat honors. It approached the human table. The mess hall went quiet. "I am Shrill," the Kryn announced through its translator. "I am champion of combat trials for 3 cycles. I have fought and defeated 47 opponents." Owen set down his tray and stood. The top of his head barely reached Shrill's chest. "Owen Drake," he said, "Earth." Shrill's blade arm moved faster than thought, stopping 1 inch from Owen's face. Owen did not flinch. The Kryn held the position for 5 seconds, then withdrew. "You do not fear," Shrill observed. "But fear or not, you will break. I challenge you formally for the tournament." "I accept," Owen said. Shrill made a sound like rocks grinding together. Laughter. "Good. The humans will learn their place, watching from medical units." The Kryn returned to its table. Conversation resumed in the mess hall, but Owen noticed many aliens were now watching the humans with new interest. Some looked amused. A few appeared concerned. Afternoon training was hand-to-hand combat. Harn paired students by species and weight class. The humans had no matches because they were the only humans, so they observed. Owen positioned himself where he could watch the Kryn sparring. 2 Kryn faced each other in a practice ring. They circled, blade arms extended. Then came the attack, a flurry of strikes too fast to follow individually. 1 Kryn scored a hit against the other's chest plate. The impact echoed. The struck Kryn stepped back but showed no damage. The exoskeleton had absorbed everything. They reset and went again. Same pattern, high strikes, chest and head targets. Neither defended below the ribs. When 1 Kryn stumbled slightly, its opponent did not attack the legs. Instead, it waited for balance to return, then struck high again. "It's like a dance," Grace said quietly. She stood next to Owen, also watching. "They have rules they don't even know they're following." "Honor rules," Owen said. "Attack the strong points to prove your strength. Going for weak spots would be cowardly." "That's insane." "That's culture," Owen corrected. "They've been fighting this way for thousands of years. It works for them because everyone follows the same rules." Victor joined them. "We don't follow those rules." "No," Owen agreed, "we don't." That evening, Harn summoned Owen to his office. The instructor sat behind a desk that curved to accommodate his 4 arms. Holographic displays showed tournament brackets. "You accepted Shrill's challenge," Harn said. "It was not a question." "Yes, instructor." 2 of Harn's hands folded together. The gesture seemed concerned. "Shrill has never lost. More than that, Shrill has never been threatened. The Kryn exoskeleton is incredibly strong. Your strikes will not damage it." "I know," Owen said. "Then you understand you cannot win." Owen met Harn's eyes. The alien's face was hard to read, but something in his posture suggested genuine worry. "Permission to speak freely, instructor." Harn gestured with 1 hand. "Continue." Every species here has natural advantages, Owen said. The Kryn have armor and blades. The Torog have strength and scales. You have 4 arms and can multitask in ways we cannot. But humans have one advantage nobody seems to understand. What advantage? Harn asked. We've been fighting ourselves for our entire history. Humans versus humans. No natural weapons, no armor, just technique and will. We've spent thousands of years learning how to beat opponents who are exactly like us. So we learn to beat opponents by being different, by adapting, by finding weaknesses and exploiting them. Owen leaned forward. Every species here fights the way their bodies tell them to fight. But humans learn to fight every possible way because we had to. And that means we can fight your way better than you can fight ours. Harn was quiet for a long moment. Then he said, "You believe you can defeat Shrill." "I believe Shrill has never fought anyone like me," Owen said, "and I believe that gives me a chance." Harn dismissed him with a wave of one hand. But as Owen left, he heard the instructor say quietly, "Perhaps Earth sends more than I thought." 2 weeks before the tournament, mandatory exhibition matches were announced. Every cadet would fight one match to demonstrate skills for the instructors. Owen drew a Torog named Gron for his opponent. The match would take place in front of the entire academy. Nash accessed the academy database that night. The security was impressive, but Nash had spent 5 years in military intelligence before joining the combat delegation. He bypassed 3 firewalls and pulled up detailed anatomical files on every species. "Look at this," he said, displaying a Torog skeleton on his tablet. "Their strength comes from bone density that's triple ours, but dense bones means rigid structure. See these joints." Owen studied the image. The Torog hip and knee joints were ball and socket designs, similar to humans but larger. Same mechanics as us, just bigger. "Which means same leverage points," Grace added. She had been studying judo applications for different alien anatomies. Mass doesn't matter if you're using their momentum against them. Riley pulled up Kryn files. The exoskeleton has gaps at every joint. Shoulders, hips, knees, elbows. The gaps are small, but they exist. Something has to flex for movement. "Those gaps are the targets," Victor said, "not the armor itself." Owen looked at his team. They had spent every free hour for 2 weeks studying, analyzing, planning. While other cadets socialized or rested, the humans worked. Because they had to. Because being average meant being forgotten, and being forgotten meant Earth would never be taken seriously. Exhibition day arrived. The practice arena filled with spectators. Cadets from all species wanted to see the human fight a Torog. Most expected it to last seconds. Gron entered first. 9 feet of muscle covered in thick brown scales. Small bone ridges ran along his skull and shoulders. His arms were thicker than Owen's legs. He took position in the center of the mat and waited. Owen walked out to scattered applause and more than a few clicking sounds from the Kryn section. He bowed to Gron. The Torog looked confused by the gesture, but nodded his massive head in return. Instructor Harn stood at the edge of the mat. "Standard rules: submission, knockout, or surrender. Begin." Gron charged immediately. The floor shook with each step. Owen sidestepped at the last possible moment, years of training guiding his body. Gron's momentum carried him past, and he slammed into the padded arena wall. The crowd murmured. Owen had not tried to counter or strike, he had simply moved. Gron turned, more careful now. He approached slower, arms spread to cut off escape routes. He threw a punch that could have caved in a concrete wall. Owen slipped it by 3 inches and circled away. "Fight human," someone yelled from the crowd. Gron rushed again. This time Owen stepped in, not away. He ducked under Gron's arm and got behind him. Before the Torog could turn, Owen wrapped both arms around one of Gron's legs and drove forward with everything he had. The physics were simple. A 3-ton object moving forward suddenly loses its base of support. Gron's leg lifted off the ground. His balance broke. Owen angled the drive, using technique Riley had spent hours drilling. Gron went horizontal, then fell. 3 tons of Torog hit the mat like a meteor strike. The impact shook the arena. Gron landed on his back, stunned. The crowd went silent. Owen did not hesitate. He had studied Torog anatomy for this exact moment. He spun to Gron's side, threw one leg over the massive torso, and hooked the other under Gron's near arm. His arm snaked around Gron's thick neck, found the position, and locked. Rear naked choke, the same technique that worked on humans, because all species with necks had arteries that fed the brain, cut off the blood flow, and consciousness faded regardless of size. Gron's eyes went wide. His free arm flailed, searching for Owen, but Owen was positioned on his back, out of reach. The Torog's massive hand slapped the mat once, twice, 3 times. Owen released immediately and rolled away. Silence held for another heartbeat, then chaos erupted. Aliens argued in a dozen languages. Translators struggled to keep up with overlapping voices. The Kryn section was clicking so fast it sounded like rainfall. Harn pushed through the crowd to the mat where Gron sat up slowly, one hand on his neck. "Impossible," a Torog instructor shouted. "Review the footage. The human used illegal holds." Harn held up all 4 hands. "Silence. I observed the entire match. The human used no weapons, no technology, no strikes to forbidden areas. The technique was physical leverage applied to existing anatomy, legal under all tournament rules." "But how?" Gron's voice was deep enough to feel in the chest. He looked at Owen with something like wonder. "I am 3 times your mass. My strength is 10 times yours. How did you lift me?" Owen walked over and offered his hand. Gron stared at it, then gripped it carefully. Owen helped pull the massive alien to his feet. "You are 3 times my mass," Owen said, "and much stronger, but I did not fight your strength, I fought your balance. Everyone falls the same way when their foundation breaks." Gron's scaled face moved in what might have been a smile. "You are a worthy opponent. I wish to learn this technique." Before Owen could respond, Shrill pushed through the crowd. The Kryn champion's blade arms were extended, posture aggressive. "Gron is weak," Shrill announced. "I am not. Your tricks will fail against true armor. Our match will prove this." Owen met Shrill's multifaceted gaze. "I look forward to it." The Kryn made its grinding rock laugh and left the arena, but Owen noticed something. Where before Shrill's posture had been casual, dismissive, now it was tense, alert. Shrill was no longer certain of an easy victory. That evening, Gron came to the human quarters. He barely fit through the door. The 5 humans stood to meet him. "I wish to train with you," Gron said without preamble. "Teach me this leverage fighting. In exchange, I will teach you Torog combat methods, and I will tell you weaknesses of Torog anatomy." Owen extended his hand again. Gron gripped it, this time understanding the gesture. "We have a deal," Owen said. After Gron left, Victor laughed. "We just made friends with a Torog by throwing him on his back." "We made an ally by showing respect," Grace corrected. "We could have humiliated him. Instead, we helped him up." Riley pulled up the tournament brackets on his tablet. The other humans all drew opponents now. Nash versus a Seerith, Grace versus another Torog named Scorn, Victor versus a Kryn named Skrit, and me versus a 4-armed Quellan. 2 weeks to prepare," Nash said. Owen looked at his team. They had proven something today. Not that humans were stronger or faster or tougher, but that humans could learn, adapt, and overcome. Now they had to prove it 3 more times before Owen faced Shrill. The Academy would never look at Earth the same way again. The tournament arena was different from the practice space. Larger, reinforced walls designed to contain species capable of tearing through steel. Holographic displays surrounded the combat floor, showing fighter statistics and match odds. Thousands of aliens filled the viewing sections. The humans sat together in the preparation area. Riley was first. His opponent was a Quellan named Tarth, same species as Instructor Harn. 4 arms meant 4 different attack angles to defend against. "Remember what we drilled," Owen said. "Quellans think in multiples. They strike with 2 arms while blocking with the other 2, but that means their defense is split." Riley nodded. His hands were wrapped, knuckles taped. Years of boxing had taught him to read rhythm and timing. 4 arms just meant 4 rhythms to learn. The announcement echoed through the arena. Riley walked out to mixed reactions. Some cheers from species who had befriended the humans, mostly silence, and from the Kryn section that constant clicking. Tarth entered from the opposite side. 7 feet tall, 4 arms moving independently like they each had separate minds. The Quellan's purple-gray skin glowed faintly with patterns that shifted as he moved. Harn stood between them. Standard rules fight. Tarth attacked with all 4 arms in a coordinated pattern. High, low, left, right. Riley slipped the first 2 punches, blocked the third with his forearm and ducked under the fourth. The crowd reacted with surprise. The human was fast. Tarth reset and tried again. Different pattern this time, but Riley had spent 2 weeks studying Quellan combat footage. He recognized the setup. When Tarth's upper right arm extended, his lower left followed a split second later. Riley stepped into the gap between attacks. His right hand shot out in a jab that caught Tarth below the ribcage. The Quellan's breathing stuttered. Riley followed with a left hook to the same spot, then another right, then another left. Body shots, each one precise, each one targeting the solar plexus equivalent that Gron had identified in the anatomical files. Tarth's 4 arms came up defensively, but Riley had already moved. He circled right, away from Tarth's strongest side, and fired another combination. Jab, cross, hook, all to the body, all making Tarth's breathing harder. The Quellan's glowing patterns flickered. Inconsistent oxygen meant inconsistent power. Tarth threw a desperate combination, but the arms moved slower now, out of sync with each other. Riley slipped inside the guard and delivered a brutal right uppercut to the body. Tarth dropped to one knee. All 4 hands went to his midsection. He could not catch his breath. Harn stepped in. Victory by stoppage, Riley Earth. The crowd erupted, half in approval, half in shock. 2 human victories now, no longer a coincidence. Nash was next. His opponent was a Cirith named Kree, one of the winged species. Kree could fly, attack from above, use 3-dimensional movement. On paper, impossible to defeat for a ground-bound human. But Nash had studied flight patterns. Birds, bats, insects, anything with wings. They all followed physics. Diving attacks required commitment. Once committed to a dive, changing direction was nearly impossible. Kree took flight immediately when the match began. Wings spread wide, catching air currents in the arena. The Cirith climbed high, then tucked wings and dove. Taloned feet extended, aiming for Nash's head. Nash waited, counted in his head. Kree's speed increased. 30 feet, 20, 10. At 5 feet, Nash moved. He spun, rising elbow leading the rotation. Muay Thai technique, practiced 10,000 times. His elbow met Kree's jaw at the exact moment of maximum diving speed. The impact sounded like wood breaking. Kree's flight path collapsed. The Cirith crashed into the mat, unconscious before hitting the ground. Nash dropped into fighting stance, ready to continue, but Kree did not move. Medical team rushed in. Harn checked Kree's vital signs and nodded. Alive, breathing, knocked out clean. Victory by knockout, Nash Earth. 3 for 3. The clicking from the Kryn section had stopped. Now they watched in silence like everyone else. Grace faced Scorn, another massive Torog, but Scorn had learned from Gron's defeat. He stayed defensive, not rushing in, kept his weight centered, protected his base. Grace circled patient. She fainted twice. Scorn did not bite. Smart opponent. She would need to create the opportunity instead of waiting for it. She stepped in as if attacking high. Scorn raised his guard. Grace dropped instantly, shooting for his legs, but Scorn had prepared for this exact move. He sprawled, hips back, weight down. Grace expected it. She had drilled the counter with Gron for hours. When Scorn sprawled, his weight went backward. Grace changed direction mid-motion, hooking Scorn's near leg and driving sideways instead of forward. Lateral drop. Judo technique adapted for Torog anatomy. Scorn's rigid bone structure worked against him. Once his balance broke to the side, his dense skeleton could not adjust fast enough. He went down hard, scales scraping against the mat. Grace moved instantly to mount position. Scorn bridged, trying to buck her off, but she had positioned her weight over his hips, making the bridge ineffective. She isolated his right arm, threading her legs around it. Armbar, hyperextension of the elbow joint. Scorn's scales protected his exterior, but joints were joints. They only bent one direction. Grace applied pressure slowly, giving time to tap. Scorn's free hand slapped the mat frantically. Grace released and stood. Scorn clutched his arm, but nothing was broken. She had controlled the submission perfectly. Victory by submission. Grace Earth. 4 humans. 4 victories. The arena buzzed with conversation in dozens of languages. Victor's match was last before the main event. His opponent, Skrit, was a Kryn who had watched all the previous human fights. Skrit stayed at range, using blade arms defensively, not attacking with the wild confidence other Kryn showed. Victor changed levels constantly, high stance, low stance, switching back and forth, making himself unpredictable. Skrit followed with blade arms but never committed to an attack, patient, cautious. Victor feinted a shot to the left leg. Skrit moved blade arms to defend. Victor immediately redirected, shooting for the right leg instead. Double leg takedown, driving through Skrit's base. The Kryn's blades scraped against Victor's shoulders, but the wrestling padding absorbed most of it. Shallow cuts only. They hit the mat together. Skrit had no ground defense. The Kryn tried to bridge like the Torog, but the movement was wrong for their anatomy. Victor achieved mount, then moved to side control. He isolated Skrit's blade arm and applied a Kimura lock. The blade arm's exoskeleton protected the exterior, but the shoulder joint underneath still had rotational limits. Victor cranked the pressure carefully. Skrit's free blade arm tapped against the mat. Victory by submission. Victor Earth. 5 humans, 5 fights, 5 victories, all by different methods, all decisive. The crowd stood, not all of them, but enough. Aliens who had mocked the humans 3 weeks ago now applauded, some even cheered. Owen stood in the preparation area, watching his team return, all victorious, all proving that Earth belonged here. The announcement came. Final match. Owen Drake Earth vs. Shrill Kryn Prime, champions bout, fighters to the arena. This was it. Everything led to this moment. Owen walked toward the entrance and the arena fell silent. Owen entered the arena floor and the noise hit him like a physical force. Thousands of voices in hundreds of languages. The holographic displays showed his statistics next to Shrill's. The numbers were not kind. Smaller, weaker, slower by every measurable standard. Shrill was already waiting in the center. 8 feet of dark green exoskeleton marked with battle scars. 47 victories and 0 defeats. The Kryn's blade arms gleamed under the arena lights. Each blade was as long as Owen's forearm and sharp enough to cut through steel. They met in the middle. Harn stood between them, all 4 arms raised. "This is a tournament match, not a death match," Harn said, looking directly at Shrill. "Submission, knockout, or surrender ends the fight. Lethal force is prohibited." Shrill's blade arm twitched. "Understood, instructor." Harn turned to Owen. "You may withdraw with no dishonor. Shrill is the most dangerous opponent in this academy." Owen met Harn's eyes. "I'm not here to withdraw." Harn stepped back. The holographic displays began a countdown. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Fight! Shrill exploded forward with speed that seemed impossible for something so large. Blade arms came in a programmed sequence, each strike designed to follow the last. High, low, middle, spinning strike. Owen had watched this combination on footage 100 times. He slipped the first blade by turning his shoulders, ducked the second, sidestepped the third. The fourth came faster than the others, adaptation mid-combination. Owen barely got his arm up in time. The blade cut through his sleeve and opened a shallow line across his shoulder. First blood, the crowd roared. Owen reset his stance, feeling warm wetness on his arm. Not deep, but a reminder that Shrill's blades were real and very sharp. Shrill did not press the advantage. The Kryn circled instead, blade arms held in guard position, watching, learning. Owen realized this was not the same fighter who had dismissed humans weeks ago. This was a champion who had studied every human match, adapted strategy, and come prepared. Owen changed his stance slightly, shifting weight. Shrill's posture adjusted in response, reading the change, anticipating. This would not be like fighting Gron or the others. This was fighting someone as skilled at adaptation as humans were. Owen feinted a level change, like he was shooting for the legs. Shrill's blades came down to defend. Owen rose immediately into a question mark kick, Muay Thai technique Shrill would not have seen. His shin aimed for the gap where Shrill's head connected to the torso. Shrill's blade intercepted, not a full block but enough to deflect. The impact sent pain shooting up Owen's leg, like kicking a metal pole. They reset again, both breathing harder, both learning. Shrill attacked with a different pattern, faster, more angles. Owen defended but got tagged twice more. Shallow cuts on his ribs and forearm. His shirt was getting shredded. Owen needed to close distance. At range, Shrill's blades had too much advantage. He threw a jab to gauge distance, then slipped inside when Shrill countered, got into the pocket where blades could not generate full power. His elbow came up, targeting the gap where Shrill's blade arm connected to the shoulder. The strike landed solid. Shrill's exoskeleton absorbed most of it, but Owen felt something shift. Not damage, but acknowledgement. The Kryn had felt that. Shrill's other blade arm came around fast, aimed at Owen's exposed back. Owen dropped and rolled, narrowly avoiding what would have been a deep cut. He came up 5 feet away, resetting again. The crowd had gone quiet. This was not a quick finish. This was two fighters testing each other at the highest level. Owen changed tactics, started using footwork from boxing, angles from Muay Thai, level changes from wrestling, mixing everything, never letting Shrill predict the next move. Each feint different, each setup unique. Shrill adapted, started using blade arms not just for striking but for blocking, controlling distance, creating angles. The Kryn was learning mid-fight, taking techniques from every match it had studied. 5 minutes in, both fighters showed damage. Owen had multiple cuts, blood making his hands slippery. Shrill had cracks forming in the exoskeleton at stress points, places where Owen's strikes had landed repeatedly. Owen saw his opening. Shrill's left blade arm was extending slightly farther than the right now, overcompensating for the cracks. That meant weight shifted left, balance vulnerable right. Owen threw everything into the setup. Jab high, making Shrill's blades rise. Level change, shooting low. But instead of going for the legs, Owen drove his shoulder into Shrill's right hip, the exact spot where weight was already shifting. Physics took over. Momentum plus leverage plus weakness in balance. Owen lifted, using every muscle in his core and legs. Shrill came off the ground. For a moment, 300 pounds of armored Kryn was airborne. Owen adjusted mid-lift, turning the single leg into a full throw. Suplex. Every hour spent in the gym, every repetition, every training session focused into this one movement. They reached the apex. Time seemed to stretch. Owen could see the arena ceiling, the shocked faces of spectators, Harn's forearms raised in surprise. Then they came down. The impact was catastrophic. Both fighters hit the reinforced floor with combined force that should not have been possible from human strength alone. The sound echoed like a cannon shot. And then another sound, a crack sharp and clear. The durasteel floor, rated to withstand Torog's strength, developed a stress fracture. The crack spread from the impact point, a jagged line running 10 feet before stopping. The arena floor had split. Alarms blared, safety protocols activated. Emergency force fields shimmered into existence around the damaged section. Both fighters lay motionless. Owen's vision swam. Everything hurt. He had put so much force into that throw that he had hurt himself almost as much as Shrill. Medical teams rushed toward the mat. Harn sprinted faster than Owen had seen him move. The crowd was on its feet, a roar of noise that sounded distant through the ringing in Owen's ears. Owen rolled to his side. 5 feet away, Shrill moved. The Kryn's exoskeleton had cracks running through it, but the armor had protected against the worst. Shrill pushed up on blade arms, rising slowly. They locked eyes across the split in the floor. Both damaged, both exhausted, both still conscious. Shrill's translator crackled, "You, our worthy opponent." Owen managed to get to one knee. "So are you." Harn reached them. Match suspended, arena compromised, medical evaluation required. Shrill's blade arm rose. "No, we finish." Owen nodded, agreed. Harn looked between them. Two warriors, both refusing to quit despite injuries that would hospitalize most beings. He stepped back. "Continue," Harn said quietly, "but carefully. The floor cannot take another impact like that." They both stood, using the time to recover slightly. The split floor between them served as a physical reminder of what this fight had become. Not just a tournament match. A test of everything both species represented. Owen moved first, circling toward Shrill's damaged left side. Shrill turned to compensate, blade arms up but moving slower now. They met in the center, over the crack in the floor. The final exchange began. They circled each other slowly, both moving with the careful deliberation of fighters who knew they were at their limits. Owen's shirt hung in tatters, blood from a dozen cuts making his skin slick. Shrill's exoskeleton showed cracks like a broken windshield, the normally solid armor compromised. Shrill struck first, a simple thrust instead of the complex combinations from earlier. Owen slipped it and countered with a body shot to Shrill's cracked ribs. The Kryn's breathing hitched. Damaged armor meant the impact went deeper than before. Owen pressed forward. This was his chance. Get inside, control the clinch, take the fight to the ground where blade arms became less effective. He shot in low, wrapping both arms around Shrill's waist. The Kryn's blade arms came down on his back, but shallow cuts now instead of deep slashes. Shrill was too tired for full power. They grappled in the center of the arena, both trying to control the other's position. Shrill had strength advantage even exhausted. Owen had technique and desperation. His legs hooked behind Shrill's, searching for the sweep. Shrill tried to throw Owen off. The movement was strong but uncoordinated, fatigue making the Kryn's normally perfect balance fallible. Owen felt the shift, used it, drove forward with everything left in his legs. They went down together over the crack in the floor, landing hard. Owen immediately moved to take Shrill's back, the position he had used against Gron, the submission that worked regardless of size or strength. His legs hooked around Shrill's waist. One arm snaked under the Kryn's arm, the other around the neck, searching for the rear naked choke position. But Shrill's exoskeleton made the angle wrong. The neck was too protected, too rigid. Shrill bucked, trying to dislodge Owen. Blade arms reached back, searching. One caught Owen's thigh, opening another cut. Pain shot through his leg, but Owen held on. He adjusted his arm position, going under the neck instead of around it, found the groove where exoskeleton met softer tissue. The choke locked in. Shrill's movements became frantic. The Kryn had never experienced this, never trained defense against it. Blade arms flailed, seeking Owen's arms, his head, anything. But Owen had his face pressed against Shrill's back, using the damaged exoskeleton as cover from the blades. Blood from Owen's cuts made everything slippery. His grip was failing, but Shrill's movements were slowing too. The choke was working, oxygen deprivation affecting even the powerful Kryn physiology. One of Shrill's blade arms found purchase on Owen's forearm. The blade pressed in, starting to cut deep. Owen felt it reaching bone. Pain exploded up his arm. His vision started to tunnel. Either the choke would finish Shrill first, or the blade would cut too deep and Owen would have to release. Shrill's blade arm trembled. The cutting stopped progressing. The Kryn's other arm dropped to the mat. Then came the tap. 3 quick slaps against the floor. Clear, unmistakable submission. Owen released immediately and rolled away. His forearm screamed with pain. Deep cut, possibly tendon damage, but he was conscious, and Shrill was tapping. The arena exploded with noise. Medical teams swarmed both fighters. Owen let them work, too exhausted to resist. Someone was wrapping his forearm, stopping the bleeding. Someone else was checking his ribs, his back, cataloging the damage. Across the mat, Shrill sat up slowly. The Kryn's exoskeleton would need weeks to fully regenerate, but Shrill was alive and conscious and extending a blade arm toward Owen. Owen gripped it carefully, mindful of the sharp edge. The crowd saw the gesture and the noise doubled. 2 warriors showing respect through pain and exhaustion. Harn's voice echoed through the arena. Victory by submission, Owen Drake Earth. The announcement made it official. 5 humans, 6 fights, 6 victories against species with natural weapons, armor, flight, 4 arms, massive strength, and the humans had won every match. Later in the medical bay, Owen lay on a bed sized for beings much larger. His forearm was bandaged, 20 stitches holding it together. The cuts on his shoulder, ribs, and back had been sealed with medical adhesive that would dissolve as they healed. Bruises were already forming across his torso. His team surrounded the bed. Riley had a black eye from a stray punch in his fight. Nash had bruised ribs. Grace's knuckles were swollen. Victor had shallow cuts on his shoulders from Skrit's blades. All of them showed damage. All of them were smiling. "You split the floor," Grace said, shaking her head in disbelief. "The actual floor." "We need to stop doing that," Owen said, managing a small laugh that made his ribs protest. Harn entered the medical bay. He looked at the 5 humans, then at the medical charts showing their injuries. "The Academy Council wants to speak with you, all of you." They gathered in the council chambers an hour later. Representatives from every major species sat in a curved amphitheater arrangement. Kryn, Torog, Quellan, Cirith, and dozens of others. The room fell silent when the humans entered. The Kryn representative stood, not Shrill but an older Kryn with an exoskeleton marked by countless battles. "I am Chronicler Thax. I speak for Kryn Prime. We miscalculated Earth's combat potential." A Torog general stood next. "As did we. Your leverage techniques defeated our strength. We wish to learn these methods." More representatives stood, one after another, admitting they had underestimated humans, requesting training, offering to share their own combat knowledge in exchange. Harn gestured for Owen to speak. Owen stepped forward, limping slightly. "We didn't come here to prove we're better than anyone. We came to prove we belong. Every species here has advantages we don't have. Natural weapons, armor, flight. But you all train the same way you've always trained, using what evolution gave you." He looked around the chamber. Humans had to learn everything from nothing. No claws, so we made weapons. No armor, so we learned to not get hit. No size advantage, so we learned leverage. We've been fighting each other for thousands of years, and that made us adapt constantly. What we learned, Grace added, stepping beside Owen, is that technique beats strength when strength doesn't expect it. Speed beats power when power can't catch it. And intelligence beats everything when combined with will. Riley spoke next. We'd be honored to teach what we know, if you'll teach us what you know. Nash nodded. Cross-training makes everyone better. Victor finished. Together, we're stronger than separate. The council chambers erupted in discussion. Not argument, but planning. Species representatives already talking about integration of human combat techniques into their training. Humans learning energy weapon optimization, flight combat, multi-arm coordination. Harn silenced the room with a gesture. Effective immediately, this academy's curriculum will expand. Human instructors will be integrated into all combat training programs. In exchange, humans will learn from every species present. This is no longer the Galactic Combat Academy. This is the Universal Combat Academy, and Earth is a full member. The vote was unanimous. Months later, Owen stood in the same arena where he had fought Shrill, but now it was filled with mixed-species training groups. A young Kryn practiced ground defense with a human instructor. A Torog learned boxing footwork. A Quellan taught a human how to coordinate multiple simultaneous attacks. The split floor remained, preserved under clear durasteel. A plaque beside it read, "Here, assumption met reality. Here, adaptation proved stronger than evolution. Here, Earth earned its place among the stars." Shrill approached from across the arena. The Kryn's exoskeleton had fully healed, though scars remained. "Rematch?" Shrill asked. Owen smiled. "Training match. I'm still recovering from the last one." They moved to an open mat. Around them, dozens of species trained together. Learning from each other, growing stronger together. Gron lumbered over. "I have learned the armbar technique. Who wishes to test it?" A Cirith flew down. "I will, if you help me understand ground defense afterward." Owen watched them pair up. Watched the academy that had mocked humans now embrace them. Watched species that had fought separately for millennia now training as one. "We did it," Riley said, joining Owen at the edge of the mat. "We actually did it." Owen looked at the split floor, then at his team, then at the mixed groups training together. "No, we started it. This is just the beginning." On Earth, news of the tournament results had changed everything. Military alliances formed. Trade agreements accelerated. Humanity's status in the galactic community shifted from curiosity to respect. But here in the academy it was simpler. Here, a Kryn and a human sparred together. A Torog learned human techniques. A Quellan taught a human to think in multiples. Here, the split floor stood as a reminder, not of victory, but of transformation. The day combat stopped being about natural advantages and became about shared knowledge. The day Earth stopped being mocked and started being heard. And the day the galaxy learned that sometimes the weakest-looking species has the strongest will.